Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the London Property Podcast, episode 7. And I'm Marius Nazare.
I'm Chris Mulry.
And today we're just going to go over the normal kind of structure. We're going to start off with news of the week, right? I'm going to kick off with one which I guess we've experienced ourselves a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Everybody's aware of the protests in Hong Kong, unfortunately. That is still ongoing. And the news is Financial Times, so quite a reputable source in that respect, because we only do news from reputable sources. Hongkongers turn to Brexit Britain as a haven. And it just really talks about how the crisis has actually emerges the more important, it's pushing Hong Kongers to actually look at the UK. Not that they've never invested in the UK before. They're investing heavily, and they have been for dozens of years. But obviously Brexit for the last kind of 2 years has been affecting the capital inflow from certain countries, but now with the crisis in Hong Kong, the protests, and this has been going on for months, that's actually become more of a concern for Hong Kongers than Brexit. And then you've got factoring the weaker pound, the protests. Actually, we've had quite a big influx of Hong Kongers buying property in the price range of 1 million to 2.5 million in London, and in the UK in general. So that's obviously very interesting. Obviously Hong Kongers, I think, they're one of the biggest international kind of buyers in the UK property market. So that we have actually seen that. We've had there was a period when we actually had quite a lot of new inquiries coming in from Hong Kong, and it's very easy to tell because it's the dialing code 00852. So yeah, that's definitely evident, and I guess it makes sense because people are getting concerned, and this article really talks about how wealthy families in Hong Kong, obviously they're concerned of where things are going in Hong Kong, and it is a sensitive topic, but they're trying to move some of the capital outside of Hong Kong just in case. And also obviously they travel a lot, they need a place to stay when they come to visit London. Furthermore, if they have kids, they're really, chances are they're going to be educated abroad. The UK being great, the UK has a great educational, universities, and it has a great educational system which attracts a lot of international people. So that's another reason that we have seen this increase. And obviously, London and the UK property market has been attractive, not just for Hong Kongers, but for a lot of international buyers from different countries. Interestingly, the article also mentions commercial property. So you get certain funds and certain groups, investment groups from Hong Kong, who are also looking at investing in UK commercial property. So it's not just the residential side of things where people are buying property for themselves or for buy to let, but also on a bigger corporate level where you have commercial property being bought by these funds. And the end of the article mentions a little bit in terms of how there are quite a lot of people still on the fence, and it kind of says there's a lot of families and wealthy families who have a war chest ready to deploy in terms of capital. So there are still people obviously waiting to see what happens with the election, with Brexit. A lot of these wealthy families anyway, they've already invested in the UK, probably have several properties, and not just the UK. But there is a lot of capital which is waiting to be deployed once we have the election, once there is a lot of clarity here in the UK, and I think that could be very interesting because yes, we have seen an increase of capital from Hong Kong, but there's still a lot more coming, I reckon, depending on how things turn out over the next couple of weeks. So that's an interesting article. We've definitely experienced that. So I guess it's interesting news. But Hong Kongers have always been, great buyers in the UK. They've always looked at UK property.
I think I remember the first time that I went to Hong Kong. It was many years ago, over 10 years ago. The first time I went there, the pound was at 15 Hong Kong dollars to the pound, and last time I checked, it was somewhere in the region of 9.5 to the pound.
Yeah.
So a massive discount for Hong Kong people buying pound as well. So I think the combination that they understand the legal system, they understand the UK and what it is. Like you say, if they have kids growing up here, some are already at university here, it kind of makes sense to buy. But regardless of that, Hong Kong buyers, there was a study in York University in 2017. I was going to talk about it in the news this week in more detail, but I chose something else. But very briefly to touch on that subject, Hong Kong buyers buying new builds, they accounted for 25% of the overseas market between 2016 and 2017. 25%. That means if you've got a new build, if you're a developer with a new build property, 1 in 4 people who are from abroad are from Hong Kong. And this was before any political situation was going on over in Hong Kong at all. There was no motivation for anybody to move. They just like London property anyway. Now, we don't have any figures on exactly how many more, in terms of percentage, Hong Kong people would be buying new build, but if it was previously 25%, they're going to be making up a hell of a lot. So that tiny little island is it's got a lot of makes obviously a lot of money. So my news article for the week is something a little bit more positive than what it has been in the recent weeks. Zoopla figures reveal that the housing market shows the first signs of life in 3 years. It's quite interesting because if we go back a few weeks ago, I think we talked about some research that a few agencies had done calling the bottom of the market, or I think it was a news article that we looked at. Somebody picked the bottom of the market. And now it's starting to show in Zoopla figures, which is, live data that Zoopla have. I think it's quite interesting. It's nothing to get overly excited about because it's not like prices are booming, but it does say here that house prices have registered month-on-month price falls in less than a quarter of London's housing market, well down on 85% of markets registering price falls a year earlier. So the good news is there's far less price falls, only registering in a quarter of London boroughs, and the other boroughs there's an overall uplift in annual growth rates at plus 1%. So it's obviously not a huge amount, but it does kind of show on the previous weeks that we've talked about, pointing to signs in the market is turning around, or at least bottoming and flattening out. So this is news which firsthand is from the aggregator websites, which I think is very interesting. And also it shows that number of sales being agreed across all agencies has increased from a low base. And then it goes on to say the reason for this is, and we talked about this in last week's podcast, and now it's coming true along news that we're reading this week, which is the lack of supply of properties on the marketplace. Now, only yesterday, me and Marius, because it's December and it's getting quiet towards the end of the year, we thought, let's have a look across the whole of prime central London. We pretty much looked at every single property on the market. We've spent, 2 or 3 days doing that, analysed every single flat that's out there. And when you do that exercise, and us knowing the market and knowing what a good property is, there's nothing available to buy, really. There's nothing everything that's relatively good quality is
It's
under offer.
Yeah.
And then you've got the properties that are less than desirable, and they've just kind of been sitting there. There's not really that much in between, and there's nothing new coming to the market. Obviously, an election is Thursday next week,
Yeah.
and this is always the case before an election. So very interesting. Lack of supply for the good things that are on. They're agreed. There's nothing new coming to the market. For agents such as ourselves, that can be quite challenging because now all agents are looking for new listings, and hopefully after the election there's going to be some more coming on. So this week, I think it's the first week that we've had that we're not going to be talking to you guys about new listing of the week, because unfortunately this week we haven't taken any listings.
Yeah, and it just look, people are waiting to see what happens with the election, which makes sense.
Yeah.
They want to see more stability and certainty politically, which that will obviously kind of show across the board. And once people know the direction we're going in, we will see people that are just waiting to take a decision coming on board, putting their property on the market. One thing that this article you mentioned is it's realistic pricing, which is something we mentioned, I think even in the first vlog. Properties that are priced, like buyers are price sensitive, so anybody that has come into the market over the last 6 to 3 months and they've been realistic to their pricing and their expectations were in line with the market, any listings that we've taken, we were able to deliver a sale relatively quickly, right? Because buyers are price sensitive. If you price it correctly, where the market is, you factor in, all those things that you have to take into consideration when you do a market appraisal. The properties are getting sold. If you're expecting, a price per square foot which is higher than what the property is worth, you're going to be on the market waiting, for things to turn around. So this news is positive, and it actually shows to me, obviously listening to that and reading it, it shows that people are slowly realizing that there isn't going to be some kind of massive price drop in the market, but regardless of what happens with Brexit, it has stabilized. We've been through price correction for the last 2 years. It's not going to go shooting up like crazy. It's not going to go down. It's stabilized. It's going to really slowly, it's a very steady kind of curve that we're looking at here. And that obviously, I guess, it means that sellers are coming to realize as well that, you have to be realistic. If you do want to sell your property, the market is where it is, and we've had data for the last 2 years now to kind of show the things that we've been saying to sellers, and you can't expect to achieve, I don't know, £2,000 per square foot, when in reality that property is worth, you should be looking at 1,300 per square foot. So this is good news. It shows that everything that we've kind of advised people on, we've been saying, is coming. It's actually right, and we can only see a slight improvement from now on, and definitely the election, and like I said, the clarity that we're going to get hopefully from the election and what happens with Brexit will obviously bring a lot more good quality stock, because there are definitely buyers out there, and they're buyers who cannot find the property for them. So it's all positive news going forward, hopefully.
Whilst you were talking, right, somebody's just messaged me, and this is quite interesting. So it's a property in Paddington Exchange that we had under offer about 3 months ago, and the buyer backed out, and the reasons were uncertainty, not sure what's happening in the market and everything else. It's 7:45 right at the moment. They messaged me just now to say that flat we were buying, is it still available?
I want to buy it.
I need to check if it is available actually. So it looks like these guys are back on
Slowly
board.
back,
So I think this kind of thing is going to happen. people who were under offer on things previously, or people who made offers previously who are a bit concerned, who now are seeing in the news that things are getting more positive on the property front, like what we've just been talking about, but also politically speaking a bit more stable. They are going to start to warm up and come back in. So
that's great news for us, and I mean for the whole market. So it's very exciting going forward. That's interesting. Great timing.
It is interesting. So I need to make that call. What else have we got this week?
So that's pretty much what we've got for you guys this week. It is a more condensed version of the vlog and the podcast, but it is positive news. Things are moving in the right direction. We're going to see what happens on the 12th of December. That's going to be key to a lot of things. But like I said, regardless of that, there's not going to be some crazy highs or lows. We've stabilized, we've had price corrections, and slowly things are going into the right direction, but it is going to be a very slow and steady kind of curve. But yes, that's it for this week, vlog 7. Thank you for listening to us, paying attention. Links are in the description. See you guys next week.
See you guys.